This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by our new image comic, The Eye Collector, available this Wednesday, the 24th of June. Jonathan Ball and Gregory will be doing a signing at Mighty Comics in the afternoon and 204 Comics in the evening. Bring your comics. We'll draw on them. They'll be worth less.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. I am GMB Kamichek, and I am here with my producer extraordinaire, Dan Vadeboncoeur. My long-suffering co-host has run off to Gimli to have some much-needed R&R with his family. Justin, we both know you stayed up late working on art anyway. Let's not kid ourselves. I know what that's like. You're jonesing for a drawn and you stayed up late to do it. However, dear listener, Dan and I were just talking about the Speedway, and it made me think about the metaphor of our episode. It suddenly came to me because what you don't know, Dan, is that occasionally, but not often, my family will go-kart racing, which doesn't necessarily like equate in your mind probably to, if you know my wife, Tara, you also wouldn't imagine her suggesting we should go-kart racing. And then you also wouldn't imagine her pedal to the metal coming around the bend to try and nudge the wheels of her go-kart into her sons and send them into the safety barrier. But all those things did happen.
Yeah.
And
well, especially if she's good at it. She probably wants to go all the time, right?
No. She just like on a whim one day, she was like, let's go go-karting. I bet the boys like it'd be fun. And then the one with the fire in their eyes was her.
Truly unlocked the...
we unlocked the beast. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I was thinking about you talking about speaking at the Speedway and having to interview people and like all the different parts that go into this race, which is ultimately just about going round and round and round as fast as you can.
That's right.
And try not to get hurt. And convention season can feel like that sometimes. But I want to tell you about one that was not round and round, just like every other convention we've gone to. Jonathan Ball and I went to, Dr. Jonathan Ball and I went to TCAF, the Toronto Comics Arts Festival, is our most recent show. We're just back from it. And man, so different in its feeling, in its constituent parts, in how the whole show runs to a normal Comic-Con. I always forget until I'm there how much my heart needed to be at TCAF, because so many people are there for the love of the game. It's a free event also, so there is no barrier to entry, and people can just fill up the... where's the place where the Stanley Cup happens in Toronto, or used to?
Maple Leaf Gardens.
Maple Leaf Gardens, yes. Sorry, hockey fans. I did not know that. That's where they hold it now, and so we're in this very famous location. So when you mention it to anyone, they know how to get there, which I think is a real benefit. It used to be at the public library, and I wish...
Oh, that's sad.
I wish...
more people didn't know how to get there.
Right, I wish it was still at the library, but the library just has too many operational needs that shutting it all down for 3 days to have pallets of stuff brought into it, I think is really hard for the library. I don't know that. This is just my opinion. Dear listener, don't quote me on that. We did last year's episode. We did talk to the people who knew those answers, I think, about TCAF, and we put them on the record, but I don't remember what they were. I do want to say, if I can show you here, Dan, this is a list of all the things that happened on that show.
Jeez.
That I thought were noteworthy. And there's got to be, 60 things on this list, but I couldn't possibly go through them all. Maybe I should just do a lightning round, right? I will say that on this list, that doesn't seem like it would be noteworthy, though. Among Tornado and the lead singer of Platinum Blonde is Naps on this list. And the one thing I want to say, I want to make a public statement about Dr. Jonathan Ball. He and I have officially reached old man nap synchronization. That when I would say, God, I could use a nap, he would just look at me and say, yes. And we would go have a nap somewhere. Not together, But we would just power down our minds for, 15, 20 minutes and then power back up and go on with our day. And Jonathan, I just really appreciated that about you. We got up early, super early. We had an early flight. Then we took an early nap after that flight. Then we had to get our stuff to the dock. There was a KG dock delivery truck driver who, when we arrived early at the dock, I see the truck. The PJ, Pallet Justin, has told us, this is the truck. This is the kind of truck it'll be. This is the kind of guy who's there. You got to find him and he's going to load it in. So I see the TCAF volunteers. They know nothing about this. They're trying to be very helpful. I said, can you just show me to the dock? We're looking for this kind of truck. Yes. They take. I go over and I assume he's looking for me. And so I got a little overly familiar with the man and his truck. Those of you who don't know about big trucks, there's a place to step up right beside the driver. That's their personal space, dear listener. Don't suddenly leap into that zone as if you're welcome on their threshold. I learned this in the face of the man who I jumped up, just pleasantly leaping up to be like, I think you're here for me. And I got a look that said, back up 10 feet.
Oh, wow.
And, but all things considered, he would give me no information, KG truck guy, about where our stuff was or what was happening or what was on the truck or who he worked for, who he delivered, anything, nothing. And then I also realized, of course, because that would be privileged information to a stranger.
Oh, he's smuggling stuff. Like, that's so suspicious.
No, it's the opposite. Until I had our actual, way bill number, right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Then I'm just some crazy man who jumped on the side of his truck asking what's inside of it. I was so blind to how fun.
What's it to you?
Yeah, how I was just there to do my job that
Yeah.
I forgot he also has a job, which is the safety of the things he carries. PJ was pleased to hear this, by the way, when I reported that his truck guy did not give up information willingly. He was like, good. That's how they're supposed to behave. Turned out it had already been unloaded and put where it was supposed to be. They didn't need me for anything.
Okay.
Turns out.
So
So
why was he still there?
good question. Good question. That's the cagey
hanging
part.
out.
That was the part that seemed a little suspicious. That is exactly. You came to the
Right.
place I was standing there.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting. The other thing that happened right at that moment was that there was a huge pallet for the Lev Gleason publisher team. They're formerly Chapter House. They are also, I think, Comics House and Lev Gleason then merged, and they are the publishers of Captain Canuck.
Okay.
The current publishers of Captain Canuck. I really enjoy their company, and once I saw their stuff was also there, I helped shepherd it to whence it was supposed to be. And the TCAF volunteers, because I had arrived in a nice jacket, I think a pink shirt and a tie, there was a feeling of you are only going to be in the way with all of this gear. And when I changed into my t-shirt and my work gloves, there was such oh, you're one of us. Yes, help us move these heavy objects. And it was so flawless and so wonderful. They just had an army of volunteers that were, even if they didn't know where they were supposed to be or what they were going to do, they would just say so. They'd be like, I know I'm here to help. I'll get whatever help you need, but I'm a volunteer. So these are the things I don't know. I don't know if they had been trained to explain what they don't know how to answer. But whatever that culture was, it was such a good beat of the show. The entire time, though, I will say, Jonathan and I were setting up. We became obsessed with the clock because we, how would I put this? Sometimes you overestimate how good you will be at unloading a giant pallet of heavy objects and setting it up in a timely fashion when you are two men of a certain age.
Feel like to nap?
Right? Who like to nap.
That is your receipt for your husband. Thank you. And this is my receipt for your receipt.
We were racing against the clock because we also bought tickets to the Backrooms.
Oh, okay.
I saw your recent review of the Backrooms on your TikTok channel there. And I have to say, I loved it.
My review or the movie?
The movie.
Okay.
Your review, I didn't really totally agree with your review of the film, but I understood like your point of view of the review. But my short version review is I thought it didn't care if I liked it, and I love that about a movie.
That's true.
Right? It's only telling the story it's telling. I love that about a movie. And if you stumble along the way, that's your fault. Like if you look away in that film and miss stuff, then it's not stopping to give you a backfill exposition like unfortunately too many Netflix movies now do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's not doing any of that. And at the end, it also felt like it, despite all that high-mindedness, it didn't feel pretentious at all. It just felt like this is a crazy, weird film that is not going to explain itself to you. But if you think and pay attention, we explained all our exposition visually.
Yeah.
But not verbally.
I thought it was, and apparently there's a lore, there's all this back story to it. Not just the YouTube series that the director made, but also some other stuff on the internet. My kids were more interested in that stuff, so that's where their disappointment came from, is that it didn't do that. But that's because that's you leave that to the people after that. That's not what the movie's for. The movie's only telling one story related to this.
The other thing too is they are just dealing with the one director's body of work.
Sure.
They do not have the ability to safely adapt the lore from creepypasta.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's multiple authors.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so it actually, I thought, was a really interesting artifact in that it didn't try to connect to all that other Backrooms lore because it wasn't theirs to connect to.
Yeah.
That's the community's job to bring all those things together. I thought that was really cool. So we made it to the Backrooms and neither of us fell asleep, which is another really important thing.
Because you'd already had your nap. Did you did you feel that coming out of did you go to a theater that was in a mall?
We did.
And then coming out of it, did you feel like you were in the back rooms because the mall was deserted?
Yes.
Everyone, that's what everyone's saying is like coming out, and it's either the theaters are either in a mall or like downtown where there's no people. And it's like you come out and there's nobody around.
What I thought was incredible is we came out of the movie, and no sooner had we come out of the movie and turned the corner, like out onto the street level, turned the corner down a long hallway. I took a picture of it. Someone had used painter's tape, and and it's not really graffiti because it peels right off, but they had put a door, like they had taped off a door, just like perfect.
Cool.
It was perfect. It was absolutely adored that movie. We were staying with our friend Salima Nawaz, who is one of the writers on Murdoch Mysteries.
Okay.
She was in town also, working on the show, working on an episode, doing a episode break. No, Murdoch Mystery fans, I will spoil nothing. I will simply say that it was so cool for her to come back at the end of her day of work and talk about how they were breaking the episodes and all the same problems that we do in our first story break, like our story breaks, identical. Like she had basically come from a day of just the beats of the story break and not the details. And so to compare notes on all of those pieces and just to see it's identical to that in the beginning. And now they've got 3 weeks of work to turn that into an episode.
Nice. How long has that show been going for?
20 seasons.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, it does. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. The rhetoric around it right now, and I only know this because I'm a fan of Salima, not because I'm a huge Murdoch Mystery fan, is the road to 25. They want to make it to season 25. That's the plan. But like all television shows, every season is a gift to the people who work on it and the people who are in it. And so who knows? Well, my hat's off to you. So that part was really fun and cool. And Jonathan and Salima and I met way back in an advanced creative writing class 20 years ago, maybe more than that. And so we were just standing around talking about, like, can you believe where we are now? We were proofing our image comic while we were in her apartment, and she's coming back from Murdoch. And so then I just said, let's send an email to Professor Dennis Cooley and thank him for this. Like, we have to give credit where it's due. He created such an amazing environment as a teacher where we all felt as strangers safe enough to really share our own creative processes with one another, to the point where, like, we've been friends for decades.
20 years.
Yeah.
Going for 25.
And I just, so yeah, that's what we did. So we immediately scratched up his contact information and sent off a letter to Dennis. And it was just, it felt like such an impossible thing to be true. And so we just took a moment to be like, oh, we didn't get here on our own. Right. And I honestly think in this specific instance, all three of us were given different advice from Mr. Cooley about what a writing would be. And that was his strength as a teacher, was to see what you were trying to accomplish with your own writing and not make it like someone else's. And I know personally his advice helped shape me. And I know I can't speak for the other two, but there we were all together. So that was really awesome. I can say that TCAF was the busiest TCAF I have ever been at. I don't know if that was universally true, but for me personally, I thought something weird had happened. Like, it was so busy for a TCAF.
Maybe you just got a comic published with a huge...
But that's not...
That's happened.
Nobody knows that.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That's not out until the 24th.
Oh, okay.
That's not out till next Wednesday. Although I do have, since you brought it up, somewhere on this table, at least I thought it, I have here's some preview issues.
Nice.
Eye Collector #1. Those will be available on the 24th. We're going to do a signing in the afternoon at Mighty Comics, and then in the evening at 204 Comics in Winnipeg. So if anyone's around and hearing this and wants us to lower the value of their eye collectors by drawing on them, please come down to our signing.
We got some ads for the podcast.
That's right. Yeah, look at that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're doing our part. We're doing our part.
Okay.
So none of that is
just happy coincidence.
Yeah,
right?
happy coincidence. And the book that I did not have to explain, I did not have to tell people what it was about. They just saw the banner and said, give me that weird thing, put it in my veins, was my Thistle Grimoire volume. It just, I couldn't understand. Like, I want to say without hyperbole, it shocked me. I was talking to Lyndon about this earlier today, where it got to the point where I was almost making excuses. Like, there was a point where there was like 8 people deep in the line, and people were reaching past each other to grab different covers of it, and they were being polite, like there was no like pushy shovey, but like, and I couldn't do the normal thing I do, which is take time with each person and tell them what the thing they're holding is about. There were too many people who wanted this thing, and it was such a weird book that you can't like just toss off what it is. And nobody needed it to be explained to them. In fact, some people said, literally said, don't tell me what it's about.
Okay.
It looks like I could figure it out.
Okay.
And that is such a difference in the crowd. So like, this is a testament to the TCAF crowd are specifically comics readers. They give a shit about the medium. They read experimental works. They read works that challenge the reader beyond entertainment to connect with the stories that are being told. One of the big differences between the kinds of comics that would be at a like Toronto Fan Expo versus TCAF, a lot more memoir-related writing and comics exploration. So a lot of people's personal stories turned into comics is I would say, it's not quite a trope, but that's what you'll find a lot of at TCAF.
Sam, it's time for you to grow up and accept responsibility. Your poor father would be appalled at your lack of promotion. Whew.
Mother, I just wish you would stop interfering. I don't want promotion. I'm happy where I am.
Suddenly, this group is like looking at all this weird stuff to the point where I had to unpack more than one show's worth of stock to make it work. And I was now I'm confused because it is a book that is connecting with people and connecting with a certain segment of people who like my work. But suddenly they're like, it was people I would normally not see at the table who are interested in it, which made me reevaluate my own misconceptions or preconceptions of who the book is for, which, was an interesting, like, self-reflective moment.
And maybe brought those people over that wouldn't have looked at your work otherwise, right? Like,
maybe.
there's people who might dismiss you based on your, other stuff. But it's all kind of...
We also noticed a different pattern, another fun pattern, which was I started calling 2 tanks and a Carmilla, which is I have all of these World War weird faux propaganda posters, right? So it's a lot of big walking tanks and tripods and
My son likes them.
robot
He's got a
things.
couple of them. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But 2 tanks and a Carmilla, because Father's Day is coming up. I finally asked, like, what's happening? Like all these people, particularly young women, were buying 2 tanks and a Carmilla, and I was like, what's going on? They're like, well, this is for Father's Day, and this is for me, because you have a deal if you buy 3 of them. So I'm helping myself and buying a Father's Day present.
That's the name of this episode.
Yeah, 2 tanks and a Carmilla. Amazing. So
We should have a special, actually. Put up a sign at your booth.
2 tanks and a Carmilla, special price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This fellow, on that topic, this fellow came up to the booth, Dan. Speaking of misconceptions and preconceptions, and he was wearing, like, I can't remember exactly, but for the sake of this character sketch, a big Slipknot shirt. He had all the accoutrements of a fan of that genre of music, and he's flipping through the work, and he starts reciting lines from Dracula, lines from Carmilla, lines from Poe. And we had in a lull moment where he came up to, we had this delightful conversation about turn of the century poetry and Victorian literature. And he was the most well-read gentleman that I had misread coming up to the booth that I had ever had. And this was my theme in TCAF, was like on this racetrack where you feel like you're just going to a city and you're promoting, you're going to the city and you're promoting, you're going to the city, you're promoting. Suddenly I was in this pit stop where people were lifting up and looking under the hood, and they were kicking the tires, and they were really interested in how everything came together. They were more interested, frankly, on how genre got made than whether or not they would even like it. They were willing to try. And it's such an interesting, I'd kind of forgotten that people don't mind if they don't like it as long as they find it interesting. Like, get into this habit of like trying to sell it on the idea of like what will appeal to people versus on just what the project is about. So that was really interesting. Now, I want to tell you a story that you will not believe. And I'll leave some details out, but I want to paint a word picture to you of, speaking of preconceptions, Dr. Jonathan Ball. Dear listener, if you don't know what he looks like, obviously you can Google his picture, but you can also imagine a silver-haired father in a button-down plaid shirt, slacks, and a very smart windbreaker. A very dad. Now, he is super into heavy metal and rap music and weird poetry, and he has a business card that says the Poet Laureate of Hell. But on the surface, you would not see any of those things. And it's one of the things I love about him. But we found ourselves through a number of marvelous misadventures at a happening Toronto nightclub called the Jean Darlene Piano Bar. And because we were there with the club owner, we got whisked in past security, and we got whisked in past all of the crowds. And they gave us there's only 3 sort of tables. There's like 3 mirrors, and they said, oh, you'll be at mirror 2. And I want you to imagine now, everyone is the coolest people you can imagine in Toronto or at this club. And then in walk Jonathan and I, and the server goes to the table where this very young, very handsome, very like at the height of his powers man is there with some women and some friends. And the server comes in and just waves them all the way like they're smoke. Like, you guys can't sit here anymore. Like, get out of here. And they knew her authority somehow, and they scattered like wind, like leaves in the busy club, to watch the daddest dad that ever dadded come striding up and sit down in the place. And Jonathan just sat down, and he has the best poker face. And so now the entire little orbit around that table in this busy club is like, who the F is this guy? Right? And they set down for us this nice champagne service, and it's all these people from TCAF, and we're just the biggest nerds you can imagine, and we all sit down, and none of us drink. So there's this bottle service being presented, and we're like, no, nobody's drinking alcohol. They sweep it out of the way at Jean Darlene, and they bring in all these mocktails for us instead. Without missing a beat, we're getting the royal service. And then the piano player sits down with us. We didn't know that's who he was at first, but Fatty, the club owner, introduces us to the piano player, and he goes, "You guys are from Winnipeg." "Yeah, we're from Winnipeg." "Let's talk about the Pancake House." And we start sharing all our reminiscences about the original Pancake House, because he grew up in Winnipeg and he knows about Winnipeg, and he has all these like stories about the Pancake House, which of course, Winnipeggers, you know what I'm
It's my favorite coffee.
right? Oh my God.
I honestly, I love that coffee. In the specific kind of cup that they had there, those like,
I know
white...
exactly, with the little taper
Yep,
near
yep.
the bottom and so
I love it.
something about it. Anyway, so we immediately bond with this guy. And now for the dear listener, I want you to imagine a room filled with young people singing at the top of their lungs, and through the crowd, there's somewhere that you cannot see beyond them, a live band playing. And everyone seems to know all the words to every song. It's popular music. They're doing covers, it seems. And then takes me longer than it should. I realized the essential premise of the Jean Darlene piano bar. It's a karaoke with a live band and backup singers.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So you are playing live to the crowd as the main singer. So there was a lot of other adventures on that evening, but the one that I think is really important is that at one point, the piano player says to Jonathan, "You can skip the line. Just come up. There's a huge line because it's a packed place." He says, "You just come up and nod at me at the piano and I'll introduce you. And then I know you guys can't stay all night, so you can do that." Because we connected over the pancake.
Mm-hmm.
So an hour or two later, we're about to leave. And then Jonathan makes this face, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we can't leave until I sing a song." And so now keep in mind, I'm wearing a black velour jacket. I have I don't know, probably at that moment, I was probably wearing my leopard print tie, and I have my sunglasses, pushing my hair back. Jonathan looks as described. So as we were walking up and pushing through the crowd, there is an assumption as they introduce, the piano player sees us coming and goes, "And from Winnipeg, it's Jonathan," right? And everyone looks at me because I look like a guy who has the confidence to stand up and take that microphone. I do not. I do not. And Jonathan takes the microphone and he says, "But before we get started, it is this lady's birthday." The piano player introduces the woman who's right at the front row with her crew. And he says, "We're going to sing Happy Birthday." Without missing a beat, Jonathan breaks into a crooner rendition of Happy Birthday and leads the entire club on Happy Birthday to this woman. She's looking at him like, who the fuck is this guy? And what is happening right now? And everyone who's waiting in line is also thinking the same thing, because we just push past them all and he goes there. And then I realize, I had known before, but I'm suddenly realizing the constituent parts, that one of the former singers of Platinum Blonde is one of the backup singers.
Wow.
So Jonathan is about to be backed up by the singer from Platinum Blonde, while the piano player looks at the lead guitar guy and he says, "This one's not on the book, but you know it. Smells like Teen Spirit." It's not in their list, but that's the one Jonathan wanted to play. And I recorded the whole thing, Dan. I will send you the video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good looking, sexy. Just my type.
I don't believe you.
Why not?
Well, I just don't deserve such terrific luck.
Damn right.
To a packed club, to roaring applause and there's a moment first where they do not believe that it is true that this daddest of dads is about to sing this song. But when he starts, it is absolutely incredible. All the tucked in shirt, close cut hair professor vibes disappeared into, and maybe this is a scoop for some of you who don't know my collaborator on the Eye Collector. John used to be the lead singer in a band called Prost. And so I'd never seen him. I don't know anything about that part of his life, but I got to witness a little moment of that at this club. And I cannot believe that, number one, we ended up here. Number two, comics brought us here. Number three, we're the biggest nerds in this place. And suddenly all the staff, all the security, the band, and the people, they can't figure us out. And so suddenly we're the most interesting people in this thing because we're the most reserved, like nerdy people at this club. And then Jonathan sings Smells Like Teen Spirit. High note. We get a text from Fatty. I get a text from him at the end. He's like, was that Jonathan? Because you can't tell from at the back who's up front.
Oh,
singing,
okay, yeah.
Right? And then we walk out of the club. We're leaving. And there was a lineup down. There's a street festival on. So the club is packed. And there it is lined up like down 2 blocks. And the bouncers who had watched him play are clapping for him as he walks out of the club. And so now everyone in the line suddenly looks up. Oh my God, who is it? Everyone is like, there's like this murmur going through. And then Jonathan Ball comes walking around the corner. And there's just a look of incredulity across every face. And he just, greatest poker face on earth. He just nods at the entire crowd like, yeah, sorry you missed it kind of vibe. And he just walks away as if a building is exploding behind him. Like he just,
That's hilarious.
It was absolutely amazing. So the very first thing I did was I took all the videos that I had and I sent them to his daughter because she would not believe that any of these things would be true. And absolutely incredible. So Jonathan, the legend of Jonathan Ball, co-writer and co-creator of the Eye Collector. That was our TCAF magic moment. When we finally ended up back at TCAF, I get this text from a different collaborator of mine, which is Rick Overwater, and who is my collaborator on.
He's like, I heard about this guy at this club last night. It was awesome.
No, not like that. But it was like music was in the air because Rick is in a band called the Deadly Skulls in Calgary, and he is my co-conspirator on Skydevil and the Haunted Air. And he texts me and he says, I'm here, which I had no idea that he would be at TCAF. Usually you plan for these things, especially if you have collaborators. And when I finally get to run into him, he says, I was performing with the Deadly Skulls. We were out. It was like 1 a.m. and I checked my email and it says, there's a table here. You're on the waiting list. Well, if you can get here tomorrow morning, you can have it. So then he turned to the band apparently and said, you guys have to pack up. I got to go to Toronto. And he left his gig right at the end, like they were just packing up. He got to do the magic moment, which I think all band members secretly hate, when you don't have to lug the gear, to go pack up and fly to Toronto and do TCAF. So that was like, it felt like that was in the air, right? Like weird musical magic was like a moment of that show. We also saw Scott Ford there. We were so jealous of Scott Ford. 2 things important about Scott Ford. He did a amazing graphic novel called Arkland. If you don't know it, if you haven't read it, go track it down. He did a incredible 3D ghost hunting book. Why can't I think what it's called? Just lost it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He did this amazing 3D graphic novel. Oh my God.
What's it called, guys?
Hologram Hunter.
Okay.
Thank you, Chadwick Ginther, friend of the studio, from the back of the room. Hologram Hunter. It's so incredible. And so we asked Scott if he would use some of his local Winnipeg talent to do an alt cover for the Eye Collector. Blew us away. That'll be out in issue 2. But he comes striding past, and I say, "Oh, I didn't know you had a booth here." He goes, "I don't. I just get to attend." I was so jealous. I was so jealous because suddenly we're working and it's like we really have to work. Often TCAF is like stop start.
Yeah.
And so you can leave the table, go browse around, come back. For a while, I couldn't go to the bathroom at TCAF without spending $50. Like it would, not because the bathroom was $50, but because between me and the bathroom was something amazing. So there was all this just sort of great vibes. Jamie, one of the collaborators on Christy Pitt's graphic novel, which is about the Christy Pitt's riots in Toronto. I met him in Winnipeg, but he's a Calgarian professor there and comic book maker. So we saw them. And there was just all of these sort of fragments of people that you know from other show life that if they're at TCAF, you know their reason is that they're experimenting. They're trying something that is not normally done. They're trying to tell the work first and then figure out the commerce after. And I so admire that about it. I will say though that I had one really important thing happen, Dan. Someone came up to the table and said, at Fan Expo last year, I bought one slants from you. He said, I'm looking for more shared world stuff. And we had some more shared world stuff. And I said, oh, cool. And if you like the art from that, it's right here. He goes, oh no, I do not like the art in these books. I absolutely do not like the art in these books. And I was like, oh, really? And he goes, yeah, not a fan. He said, but I really like the words. I wrote it down. He's like, not a fan of the art, but man, the words in these stories are so good. I'm looking forward to more of the words. I was like, oh, well.
Okay.
So you don't want to look at these other, nope, not a fan of the art. It was such a, like.
Was there any kind of awareness that he realized you were the artist? I mean, you could have just been one of the writers, right?
So in classic Jonathan fashion, he doesn't miss a chance to point out in the awkward moment, oh, well, Gregory's the artist. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But it just goes to show, like what you like.
It doesn't have to be
right?
You can like the story without having to like the art, right?
You like the story without liking the art. So that was the interesting part. We also had two people come up and buy copies of Share World stuff for a book club. They were so excited to buy multiple copies and have a book club. And they really were interested in the like weird monsters and the strange short versions of the story and all the stuff that, frankly, you would be told, don't do this, you know, is what they were connecting to. So we were really excited. Jonathan said he wished he could bottle the book club energy of those people and spray it on the rest of the crowd because they were so into it. Now, just to be said, they had not read any of it. So next year they may tell me that they like the art, but not the words. That could be totally fine. I also feel it's important to tell a story. I wrote it down here as the Kafka-esque key fiasco.
Uh-oh.
So, Dan, I understand the nature of bureaucracy. You work in education.
Yeah.
The nature of a bureaucracy, is as such that certain things must be done a certain way simply because the majority of people will not follow the instructions. And if they don't break it down into a certain easy to follow set of steps, chaos.
Yeah.
I get it. I hate it, but I get it. I'm saying this to let you know that I understand that is necessary. But I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I'm going to ask you to answer. Let's imagine I'm staying with you in your condo in Toronto. Let's just imagine that scenario. And you've left me a key and you've gone off to work. What should I do with that key?
Keep it.
Since I have to lock the door. No, but I'm getting on a plane to go to work.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What's the obvious solution?
You have to give it back to them so that they can use it to get back into the place afterwards, right?
That's right. Yeah. And
drop it off to them at work.
Let me describe the building. It has security and it has a concierge desk.
Oh, okay. Well, then you give it to the guy. Give it to the concierge.
Makes sense, right?
Right.
No.
Okay.
That is not allowed.
Oh.
I go down with an envelope and I say, this is for Salima And the concierge looks at me and he goes, oh, okay. And he's about to take it. And then I say, it's her key. Freezes in place, like with terror in his eyes. And I don't know what's happening. So I just turn to grab my suitcase and leave because, like, it has her name on it. It has the suite number. It has who it belongs to. It's her property. He can keep it safe there, and she can prove she is who she says she is to get it back. By the way, the same envelope we used was the one that had our information on it that this same person gave to us.
Okay.
Okay. Right?
Okay.
Right? It's not, it doesn't
This isn't the first time you're meeting them.
Right.
Okay.
Right? This shouldn't be that strange. Instead, he says, did you fill out the form? No, I didn't fill out a form. I don't have what form? He says, well, you'll have to fill out a form by email. Trying not to cause any ruckus because a dear friend has allowed us to stay in their home and we don't want to cause any trouble. So I say, okay, send me the form. Are you a resident? I pause because obviously he knows the answer because I'm leaving the key for the resident. No, I say. We can only give the form to the resident. So then I ask, there is a form to return a key to a resident. Yes. That I can only get if I'm a resident. Yes. How can I return this key? You can't return it here. Jonathan steps in, he says, he notices that there's an enormous, like taller than us pile of Amazon packages for the entire building. And he says, if I put a stamp on it, can we put it in that pile? And for a moment, he's about to say, well, I guess so, yes. And then he goes back into this like fearful gaze. No.
I came into this game for the action, the excitement. Go anywhere, travel light, get in, get out, wherever there's trouble, a man alone. Now they got the whole country sectioned off. You can't make a move without a form.
We're trying to catch a plane. Now, we don't know, dear listener, that a tornado is about to stop our plane from getting to Winnipeg. But at that point, we're trying to race to our plane, and we don't understand the problem. So I say, is there someone I can talk to about giving this key, leaving this key here? He says, no. Now, this place is beside a hotel. It's like got condos on one side and it's got a hotel service on the other side. So I go around, I say, okay, fine, I'm going to try something else. I go around to the hotel side and I say, can I leave an envelope here for a resident of the building? She'll pick it up here. She'll have her ID, right? Mm. And they also give me the same look like, uh-oh, only on this floor and above.
Something happened here.
Right?
There's some fast incident that caused all this.
And I believe I know what it is.
Okay.
And it's not what you think it is. It's a force of evil on the 5th floor, Dan, which I was soon to discover. No, but they say, maybe you can drop it off on the 5th floor. At the hotel, they said. I said, what's on the 5th floor? They said, well, you can only get to it from that other side. This side we have a key to, so that's fine. I said, okay. And they said, but I don't know how that's going to go. Like there is an entire novel of a story that they will not tell me. And I can just tell like, oh my God, but I don't have time. I'm trying to get your plate. So I go around and I go to the concierge and, hey, can I talk to someone on the 5th floor? Who's on the 5th floor? I ask. And he says, oh, that's our management office. Amazing. I say, perfect.
That's somebody I could talk to about leaving this key here, right? Everyone asked you that question
earlier?
A
manager. Yeah, kidding. Isn't that someone I could talk to? Okay. So I go up, I leave Jonathan, I leave everyone. I just take the key. I go up to the 5th floor. I go into, there is a place that says management office. I rap politely on the door because it is closed. I hear a murmur. I wait. I rap ever so slightly again on the door because I'm not sure if they're supposed to open it or like maybe they're on the phone or whatever. I hear another murmur and I vaguely make out that maybe the murmur is like, come in. Mm-hmm. So I open the door and there are 3 desks in front of me. And there are 3 frightened looking people at those desks staring at me. And behind them is this one like acre long wide desk against the back of the room. Now only separated by maybe 20 feet, everybody. It's all together in this space. But there is a clear hierarchy of these 3 people who are at their computers doing all kinds of email. Like, they look very busy, but they also have the look of people who are trying to look very busy. And there is a woman sitting behind them with her fingers laced, staring at me. And I'm just like, hi, I'm just trying to drop off a key to a resident here. They told me this is the manager's office. There's no talking here, sir, says one of them. And I said, what? All talking must be done in the room at the end of the hall, they say. The face you're making is exactly the face.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, I am so confused because now I don't even know what to do.
Okay.
Because I'm holding an envelope. I've been told there's no talking in the management office and that all talking must be done at the room down the hall. I don't know where that room is or what's happening. And one of the women looks back, and the woman with her hands folded, empty desk, hands folded, nods at her. So she gets up, and I go, oh, I guess you're in charge here. You must be the one that has all, I make some joke about, like, since you're the boss, maybe you're the one I need. There is no talking here, sir, says the person who ushers me out of the room, down a long hallway to a boardroom where I am now sitting by myself, texting Jonathan saying, I do not know what is happening right now. I'm in a boardroom awaiting to speak to somebody. Well, why didn't you talk to them in the office? I wasn't allowed to talk in the office.
Okay.
Right? And now I see the fear on that man's, the concierge is like, this is his work environment.
Yeah, yeah.
There is a protocol. The woman comes in. She has a clipboard. She begins taking minutes of our meeting, writing the date and time, asking me all kinds of personal information about who I am, which I am at the beginning happy to oblige because I'm just trying to establish that I am, in fact, not hiding my identity.
Right.
The concierge had originally asked for my passport when they gave us the key, so I produced it again to say, like, hey, I'm a real person, happy to be here with you. Can I leave this for my friend? Did you fill out the form? Right? You're feeling it now.
This is starting to sound like Brazil.
It's exactly that. Did you fill out the form? I said, I would love to fill out a form. Can I have a form? Or are you a resident? She has the form on the goddamn clipboard, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a resident? No, I just told you I wasn't. Like, I'm now, like, I'm starting to get a little, like, I'm a little afraid at the edges.
Yeah.
I just told you I wasn't. Well, then I can't give it to you. Can I leave this key? Oh, no. You cannot leave the key. And we went around in a what can only be described as a 15-minute loop of dead-end question and answers where she would mark down my answer to all the questions that she was asking as if I was in like in an episode from The Prisoner.
Wow.
It was so bizarre to the point where I just said, once we went around the logic loop a third time, I just said, I think I'm going to leave now.
Okay.
And I just stood up slowly, like I thought I was being punked. Like maybe I'm on camera. Like it actually felt like this is a YouTube channel where they do this to people.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes more sense than what was happening.
Yeah. And she says, I'm very disappointed in you.
Oh, Greg. This is hilarious.
Dan, it was a hell on earth. I did not know what was happening. So we left. We kept the key. We arranged other means to get it to Salima outside of the care of the building. And when we told her this, she said, yeah, they seemed really confused that I wanted to leave a key for someone in the first place. Like, this is new. They recently moved in here. And I said, I am so sorry that you are now on a list. It definitely.
So she was able to fill out the form because she is a resident.
No, she had never filled out.
She didn't have to do the form.
She didn't do any form. This is what I'm trying to say. She said she was vaguely aware that a form existed, but that seems so crazy when all you need to do is leave a key with the concierge. Like that's their job is to right, not give up the key to someone who can't prove they're who they say they are. That's easy.
Yeah,
that's an easy step.
Oh,
so
man.
So this then began a 3-hour car ride through horrible traffic to the airport, which then culminated in us getting on an airplane, which then flew to Winnipeg, and then a half hour out from Winnipeg, as the just absolute crazy turbulence started to, they said, no, we're going back home, right? And we had fueled with enough fuel to go from Winnipeg to Calgary. And so we found out later we were lucky because the big supercell that had shut down the big storm that flooded Winnipeg here this past weekend, it had caused all the other planes, 9 or so planes, had to go to Fargo to land because they didn't have enough fuel to go anywhere else. And we were able to go back to Toronto. But the ones that went to Fargo, they don't have their passports. So they had to stay on the tarmac in the airplane. They could not deplane until they could fly back the next day. Crazy. So this like Kafka moment, and then this horrible ride to where it's like no left turns and traffic and twists and everything's construction and should have taken the train, and then the plane gets turned around in a tornado. It literally felt like all the joy that we had built up swirled away in the airplane. At one point, I do a lot of air travel, Dan, so this is my last story of our adventure. I do a lot of air travel, so I am not bothered by turbulence. And if it's really that bad, there's nothing I can do about it anyway. So the plane is shaking around quite violently. But Dan, I got to pee, right? And I asked, or I caught the eye of a flight attendant and said, like, is it okay if I go to the bathroom? And they're like, probably you shouldn't, but if you really got to go, you can. And so anyone who travels a lot by air knows that you put your hand up on the baggage side, and now you have balance, and you can just slide your hand along that, and then you don't bump into anyone as you're going. And this was a 2-hand job. You had to be on both sides, and then in the middle, halfway to the bathroom, we hit a pocket of turbulence, and my feet lifted off the ground. My head felt like, probably wasn't this bad, but it felt like it was about to touch the ceiling. And then we slammed down, and they're still braced. And the flight attendants, who are like sipping coffee, and they don't have a care in the world that this is like their everyday. She looks at me and she says, oh, you handle that like a pro. And so I get to the door of the bathroom, and she says, but I got to tell you, if that happens while you're in there, I am not helping. So this was our adventure to TCAF, more or less in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
The loop that we have felt in previous episodes, we mentioned like the grind of show life. Completely, I feel refreshed, despite all the weirdness at the end of the trip. Completely refreshed to dive back into why I love making the books, why I love talking to people about it. Like that look under the hood, our little pit stop of TCAF makes me so ready for the Montreal Comic-Con that is coming up. Like I just feel totally invigorated to dive back into the other side of comic life in that way. So this has been your TCAF recap for 2026. I am GMB Kamichuk, encouraging you all to join the fight and make comics. But if this happens while you're in there, I'm not helping.